Okay, today's test review for Chapter 5. 112, Chapter 5 test review. Okay, first problem, you need to find the GCF. Greatest common factor of those two things. Okay, this isn't the LCM. Remember, greatest common factor is what you can factor out of them, not what they multiply into. So 3 and 9 both have a factor of what? 3 in common. And x squared and x to the 4th,
X squared.
they both have at least 2 x's. Okay? So 3x squared. Actually, let me put the answer sheet right there. If you look, it should be answer C. Here. Okay. Okay, number 2. Negative x squared, there's a test review over there. Negative x squared, negative 4x, and negative 32x to the 4th. What's the GCF? Do they have a number in common? They don't all have 4, do they?
No.
Just x? Okay. You could do the negative because they all have negatives. If you miss that part and it's not multiple choice, that's all right. You could get a negative x out or negative 1 out. And what's the x to the what?
Just X.
Just x. The smallest one is 1. So just negative x. The biggest thing you could factor out. Okay, number 3. What can you factor out of 3y plus 15? What do they have in common? And 3? Okay, you don't just need the GCF, you need to factor it. So to factor the 3 out, what's your first term? Y? Plus what? 3 times 5 is 15. Okay, number 4. What do these have in common? 32m8 minus 24m6 plus 8m4.
8.
8. We'll go into all of them.
Yes.
And how many m's? Smallest one. Okay, 8 times what is 32? 4. How many more m's do you need?
4.
4. Put the minus for the minus here. 8 times what is 24?
3.
How many more m's do you need?
2.
Plus 8 times what is 8? 1. How many more m's do you need? None, so you don't need to put anything there. Okay. This one says to factor it also. We're still under factor. It's already grouped. What do they have in common? The 2x plus 3, or minus 3, right? That's what they have in common. Okay, so to get this first term, what did you multiply 2x minus 3 by? 4x. And what did you multiply it by here? Positive 3, right? Okay, number 6 is already factored out. What does that have in common?
Nothing.
4 minus m? Okay. To get the first term, 3m, right? And the second term, what'd you multiply it by? Plus 2n, right? This part right here. So it's factored. Factor by grouping. Okay. When it says grouping, you know that you need the first two and the last two. You need to factor them. What can you factor out of this part right here? What do they have in common?
X squared.
X squared. Okay. So how do you get the first term?
3x
Okay. Second term?
plus 3.
Okay. You have this, you know it should be over here also, x plus 3. So what do you need to multiply that by? To get this first term, what do you multiply the x by? Plus 4, right? Okay, you have plus 4x and then plus 12. So that's right. Always check it. Don't just do the first term only. Okay, what do they have in common?
X plus 3.
X plus 3. So what's your second term? X squared plus 4. Okay, number 8. Still under the factor by grouping. So you need to underline these. What do these two have in common? X squared. First term is x minus 8, right? So we need the x minus 8 over here. What do we multiply to get that first term?
6.
Plus 6, right? Oh, I already have a plus there. So that's plus 6x and then minus 48, so that's right. Okay, they have in common x minus 8. Second term should be x squared plus 6. Okay, factor completely. It could be factored by grouping or just factor the common thing out or factoring into two terms. Okay, this one, you're going to factor into 2 terms, right? They don't have anything in common and there's not 4 terms to group. So to get x squared, you have x times x. To get 56, 1 times 56, 2 times 28, 4 times 14, 7 times 8. Which one subtract to give you a 1? 7 and 8. How are you going to get a negative 1? You need a negative 8, right? Negative 8, positive 7. So there's your factors. Okay, this number 10, we need to factor that into 2 terms. X is x times x, 54. 1 times 54, 2 times 27, 3 times something, 18, I believe. 4 won't go into it, 5 won't go into it. That's 6 times 9. Subtracts to give you a 3. That would be your 6 and 9, right? How do you get a positive 3? Positive 9, negative 6. Okay. This one, you don't just do the 2 terms right away. What does it have in common? 3? They don't all have x's though, right? So factor the 3 out first. So you have x squared minus what? 4. 3 times 4 is 12. X, and then plus what? 4. So you have the 3 out here. You're factoring this. X squared is x times x. 4 is 1 times 2 or 2 times, 1 times 4 or 2 times 2? Which ones add to give you 4? 2 times 2. You need a negative 4. That means you need both of these negative. Negative 2, negative 4. When you add them to get the middle term, they're always the same sign. So make sure they're the same sign there. This can be changed into 3 times x minus 2 squared also, because that one came up twice. The answer on this one isn't, it just has them already separated, but you can write it with the squared on it. Number 12. Factor, does that have anything in common? No? Okay. So we're going to make 2 factors. What times itself will give you P4? P squared. 35 is 1 times 35 or 5 times 7. Which ones add to give you a 12?
5 and 7.
5 and 7 add to give you 12, but you need negative 12. They have to be the same sign. Negative 5 and negative 7 give you negative 12, right? So that's your second parts. Okay? Number 13. Did they have anything in common? Nothing in common. Okay, let's factor it. How do you get x squared? X times x. The y squared, we do y times y. Now the 14 will be 1 times 14 or 2 times 7. Yeah, they subtract to give you 5. Positive or negative 5? Most of them do. Positive 5, negative 2. I mean positive 7, negative 2. Okay? Okay, u squared. They don't have anything in common. So let's factor it. U squared is u times u. V squared is v times v. That's 16. Let me turn this down to 1 times 16, 2 times 8, or 4 times 4. Subtract to give you 6. Which would subtract to give you 6?
2 and 8.
2 and 8. Right. And you need a positive or negative? Need a negative 6.
Negative 8.
Negative 8, positive 2. Okay? Everybody seeing that? Decide whether the following is a trinomial square. Yes or no? The best way is just to start factoring it, right? If you were going to factor it, you'd have x times x. The 100 would be 10 times 10, right? Okay, do these add to give you 20x? 10x and 10x, yes. So this is a yes. This part right here, you would have x and x. You'd have y and y. 49 is 7 times 7. Can you add those to get a negative 14? Yeah, if you put negatives, you can. So that is a yes also. Okay. This one, x, 16 is 4 times 4. Can these add to give you a negative 4?
No.
No. It may factor, but it shouldn't factor to a trinomial square. 18. There's a test review. So somebody show her where the test reviews are. Here, right here. 49, 7 times 7. Do those subtract to give you 14?
No.
No. If that was a plus, it would have been okay. The trinomial square always has to have a plus here. So this one is a no. More factoring. Factor completely. X squared is x times x. 64 is 1 times 64. Okay, you know it's going to add to give you 16. 8 times 8. If you could see that right away before you have to do all the other ones, you could do that. 8 plus 8 give you 16. And you need a positive, so they're both positive. That's a trinomial square, because you could say x plus 8 to the second power, which is D on that one. Okay, number 20. X squared is x times x. Y squared is y times y. Okay. We're probably doing the squared things right now, so 49 is 7 times 7. I'm sorry. X squared x times x, y squared y times y. And since we're just doing trinomial square things, this will probably be trinomial square. Do those two add to give you 14? Yes. They need a positive, right? So plus 7y plus 7y. So your answer is x plus 7y squared. And in this group of problems, there's one more, so this is probably a trinomial square. 25 is 5 times 5. X squared is x times x. Are these going to add to give you 10?
Yes.
5x and 5x, yes. They need to be positive. And you could have turned it around and put it in descending order, where you had the x squared plus 10x plus 25, and it would have came out x plus 5x plus 5. So that one could be written either way. 5 plus x squared or x plus 5 squared. Okay? It could have been done either way. This one, it gave it in descending order. Okay. Determine whether the following is a difference of squares. Okay, difference, is this a square? X squared is a perfect square. Is 49 a perfect square?
Yes.
Yeah, that would go to x plus 7, x minus 7, right? But you don't have to do that, you just have to say yes or no. Okay? So just say yes. Yes or no. If there's no yes or no A, B, C, then over there. Over there. Okay, is that a difference of squares? That's a square, that's a square. No, it's a plus, right? Difference has to have a minus in the middle. So this one is no because of this right here. It has a plus there. Is this a difference of squares? Yes, that's a square, and there's a difference. Okay,
Your answer sheet
number
is wrong
2.
then.
Do what?
Your answer sheet is wrong then.
What does it say?
Oh, I lied, never mind.
Okay.
I'll read it. Shut up.
Okay, number 25. Factor completely. We were just talking difference of squares, so it's probably a difference of squares, right?
Yeah.
And I'm going to keep these in the same order for your test, okay? I'm not going to change the order of the problems. So you don't have to worry about them being all mixed up. You have to factor this. 100 is 10 times 10. How do you get rid of the middle term? You have a plus and a minus, right? That's factored completely. You don't go any farther. You don't go past that. As far as you can go. Okay, difference of difference of squares again. That's perfect square and perfect square. 49 is 7 times 7. X squared is x times x. 36 is 6 times 6. How do you get rid of the middle term? Plus and minus, right. 257. Difference of squares again. 81 is 9 times 9. K squared is k times k. Last term, let's put the m's first. 64 is 8 times 8. And you need a plus and a minus. I almost didn't make them big enough. Okay, the next one is another difference of squares. I'm going to make them bigger, just in case. 36 is 6 times 6. X squared is x times x. 256, if you don't know what it's the perfect square of, take your calculator and do the square root of it. Is that 16? And do the plus and minus, where it doesn't have a middle term. Okay, this one is not perfect squares, is it? 45 is not a perfect square and 20 is not a perfect square. Can you factor something out of it? 5. They'll both divide by 5. That will make that 9x squared minus 4y squared. Now, is this a perfect difference of squares? Yeah. 9 is perfect square, 4 is perfect square, and your x's and y's, your variables are perfect squares. So keep factoring. 9x squared is 3x times 3x, right? 4y squared? 2y times 2y. Put your plus and minus. Now that's as far as you can go. You need to watch when you factor to make sure you can't keep factoring though, okay? Just because eventually you'll get to somewhere you keep factoring again, like in your homework. Okay, is 30 a difference of squares?
Yes.
Yes, 81 is 9 times 9. So we have 9x times 9x. 4 is 2 times 2. You need your plus and minus. 31, is that a difference of squares? Yes, 9 and 100 are both squares. 3k times 3k. 100m squared. 10m times 10m. You need your plus and minus. When there's not a middle term, you have to have that plus and minus. 32. Is that a difference of squares? It's not a difference, it's plus, right? That's not going to factor. So does the answer sheet say B prime for number 32?
Yeah.
Yep. That's because it's not a difference. Okay, number 33. We're not doing difference of squares anymore. It's 3 terms there. X squared is x times x. 42, 1 times 42, 2 times 21. 3 times, it's 6 and 7?
Yeah.
Okay. Somebody already recognized it's 6 and 7. They subtract to give you 1. You need a negative 1. Negative 7, positive 6. Okay, the next one. X squared would be x times x. Y squared is y times y. Now let's get the numbers. 28, 1 times 28, 2 times 14, 3 won't go into it, 4 times 7. It needs to subtract to give you 3. 4 and 7. How are we going to get a positive 3? Positive 7, negative 4. Yes. $35. U squared minus 5UV minus 14V squared. So let's put the U's to begin with. And the V's. 14 is 1 times 14 or 2 times 7. Subtracting to give you 5. How do we get a negative 5?
Positive 2, negative 7.
Positive 2, negative 7. 36. We've got 4 terms. What does that set off in your brain when there's 4 terms? Grouping. Okay, the first 2, what do they have in common?
X squared.
X squared. To get the first term, x plus 5 to get the second term. Put this over here. Okay, to get minus 16, what are you going to do? We need to multiply negative 16, right? To get minus 16x. Okay, negative 16x, what do you get when you multiply negative 16 times positive 5? You're negative 80, so that's right. What do they have in common? X plus 5. What's the second term? X squared minus 16. Uh-oh, we're not done. I circled it like we were done, but we're not. What's x squared minus 16? Difference of squares.
X minus 4.
X plus 4, x minus 4. So you gotta keep checking to make sure that you can't go anymore. Plus 4, minus 4. Now nothing can cancel anymore, or factor anymore, sorry. So now you're done. $37. Okay, you're still doing the same thing, you're factoring. Oh, you didn't have to factor these. If they're equal to 0, you need to set each factor equal to 0. So x minus 3 could be 0, or x plus 4 could be 0. Because 0 times anything is 0. So this one, you need to add 3. So x is 3. This one you subtract 4. So positive 3 and negative 4. How about number, 38? Set each factor equal to 0.
Yeah, but I want to try to finish this.
Okay, so x can be 0 or solve that for 0. I'll be done. We have 20 problems, or 50 problems, so I'll be done in a while.
Okay, I'm going to go to the students' success one further. Somebody said they could help me figure out what I'm doing wrong.
Okay, so subtract 10 to the other side first, and then divide by 2. So negative 10 divided by 2 is 5.
5 or negative 5?
Negative 5. So it's 0 and negative 5.
Can you go back and start over?
Sure.
On this one?
Okay, oops. X could be 0, or 2x plus 10 could be 0. Okay, this one's already solved. This one you need to solve for x. Do plus or minus first. So subtract 10. Bring the 2x down. 0 minus 10 is negative 10. Divide by 2. So x is negative 5. Okay? Solve by factoring and using the principle of zeros. So you have to factor it and make it equal to 0. Actually, first you need to make it equal to 0 before you factor, right? So you need to subtract 20 from both sides, so that'll make this minus 20 equals 0. Does everybody see that, or do I need to write it? If we subtract 20 right here and right here, then this is 0. Okay, so now we have something that needs factored equals 0. So it'll be like the ones that we just did here, where we set each one of these equal to 0. Okay, factor it. X squared is x times x. 20, 1 times 20, 2 times 10, 4 times 5. Subtract to give you 1. Negative 1. So we need a negative 5 and a positive 4, right? To get a negative 1. Now set each factor equal to 0. Somebody show her where the test is. This factor equal to 0 and the other factor equal to 0. Solve. X is negative 4 and positive 5. So negative 4 and positive 5. So you have to factor and put it equal to 0. Number 40. It's already equal to 0, so you don't have to move anything. So just factor it, and then put it equal to 0. X squared is x times x. 8 is 1 times 8, or 2 times 4. They subtract to give you 2. 2 and 4. You need a positive 2. The 4 needs to be positive. Okay, so set each factor equal to 0. Add 2 to both sides. X is 2 and negative 4. So you have 2, negative 4 is your answers. Okay, this one is already equal to 0. Okay, to factor that, we don't like numbers in front of the x squared. Is there a common factor? 4. That'll make it just an x squared there. Minus what? 7, right? X plus what? 10. Okay, 4 stays out there. Factor the trinomial. So you have x squared is x times x. 10 is 1 times 10 or 2 times 5. Which ones give you 7? 2 and 5. You need a negative 7. They both need to be negative. Okay, set each factor equal to 0. Well, that won't do any good, will it? X minus 2 equals 0, and x minus 5 equals 0. So add 2, x is 2, and add 5, x is 5. So 2 and 5. If you had factored an x out, then you would have had 3 answers. You'd have had a 0 and the other 2. But this doesn't make an answer. Okay, number 42. Oops, need to get it where you can see it. 42, 10n squared plus 10n. What can you do to factor that? Anything in common?
And 10.
10 and n. To get the first term, you need an n, right? Plus, to get the second term, just times it by 1. Okay, so set each factor equal to 0. Okay, divide by 10. 0 tens is 0. And this one, subtract 1, negative 1. So you got the 2 answers, 0 and negative 1. Okay, 43, factor completely. There you go. Do they have anything in common?
N plus N.
M plus n. To get the first term, x plus 8. And then put plus. To get the second term, y plus 1. So really, to simplify that, you can add the numbers here. Leave the n plus n. X is okay like it is. You can put the number next or the y next, it doesn't matter. Plus 8 plus 1 is plus 9, and then plus the y. But you could have put the x and then the y and then the 9. You could have put this, and it would have still been the same thing, still been right. Okay? So that gives you the answer C. Right there. Okay, 45, factor that completely. Do they have anything in common? P plus Q squared. Okay, so to get the first term, what do you multiply it by? 5x squared. There's a minus, so put minus. What do you multiply to get that term? 1. You have to have at least something here, so you need a 1. This is not a difference of squares, so you can't keep factoring. If it didn't have the 5, you could have kept factoring. So that's as far as you go. Looks like that one is B. Find the x-intercepts. Okay, so what that's telling you is set y equal to 0, and you just have to put your answer in a different form. You have to put it like it's coordinates. So first, y equals 0. So just change the y to 0. Factor it. X squared is x times x. 20, 1 times 20, 2 times 10, or 4 times 5. Subtract to give you 1. You need a negative 1, so you need negative 5. Set each factor equal to 0. Okay, so you have negative 4 and positive 5. Okay, instead of just writing the 2 answers, when it says to give x-intercepts, you need to put it into coordinates. What did we say the y was?
0.
Y is 0. So this is just the x parts. The x here and the x here. So that's your x-intercepts. Okay, 46. X times x minus 4 equals 77. It says to solve by factoring and using the principle of zero products. So first multiply the x through. You have x squared minus 4x equals 77. We need it to equal 0, so subtract 77 from both sides. X squared minus 4x minus 77 equals 0. Okay, to factor this, 1 times 77, 7 times 11, and that's about it. They subtract to give you 4. So that's the 7 and 11, right? You need a negative 4, so you need negative 11, positive 7. We need the x's here, plus 7, minus 11. If it was pencil, I'd erase it. I'm going to rewrite it. Okay. Set them equal to 0. X plus 7 equals 0, and x minus 11 equals 0. So solving this, you get negative 7. Solving this, you get a positive 11. That's your x's. We're still doing intercepts? No, we're not. It just says solve by factoring and using the principle of 0. So there's 2 answers, the negative 7 and positive 11. Okay, 47. The product, I'm going to have this smaller so we can read the whole thing. The product of 2 consecutive odd integers is 255. Find all the pairs of integers that satisfy this condition. Okay, the product of 2 consecutive odd. Product is multiplying. So you're multiplying 2 things. Consecutive odd integers. That'd be x, and what's the next one? X plus 2. Okay? The product of these is 255. That means equals 255. So multiply this out. X squared, bless you, plus 2x equals 255. Now we need to subtract 255 because we want it to be 0. X squared plus 2x minus 255 equals 0. Okay, to get 255, we know it's not going to be 1 times 255. 2 won't go. Let's see, 5 times 51. No. Okay. Let's see. What are the factors of 51? Are they 3 times 17? Let's try 17, because we know 17 of 1 to it. This is 3 times 17. It's 5 times 3 times 17. So let's try 17. How many times will 17 go into? 15? Okay, so that's them right there, 15 and 17. Okay, so we know it's a 15 and a 17. We don't know which one is positive. Subtract to give you 2. You need a positive 2. So this one's positive, this one's negative. So positive 15, negative 17. Okay. It doesn't say whether they're positive or negative, right? So what you're going to do is you're going to have 2 answers. The positive one and the next number, right? So it's going to be positive and negative of both of them. It did them weird here. Negative 17, positive 5, and negative 15, positive 17. That's not right. You gotta have the negative together. This two negatives and this two positives. Because you need the positives, that's two consecutive integers. And actually it'd be negative 17 would come before negative 15. And there's two odd integers. Okay? That one and plus 2, that one and plus 2. So that's the two, all the pairs that satisfy it, okay? Number 48, find the product of two consecutive, not odd or even, just two consecutive, is 29. So your product of two consecutive, so you have x and the next one. X plus 1, right? Two consecutive is 29 more than their sum is 29 more. And how do you do the sum of the numbers? That plus that. X plus 1. That's the sum of them. So that one's a little harder, huh? Okay, this one's multiplied, so let's multiply it. X squared plus x. This one's all adding, so add these two. X plus x is 2x. These two can be added. 1 plus 29, 30. Okay, let's get these all to one side of the equation so it's equal to 0. So we're going to minus 2x, and we're going to minus 30. So we have x squared, 1x minus 2x, negative 1x, or just minus x, and then minus 30 equals 0. Okay, 30, 1 times 30, 2 times 15, 3 times 10, 5 times 6. Subtract to give you 1. 5 and 6. You need a negative 1. Negative 6, positive 5. Okay, so setting each factor equal to 0. It's a negative 5. And this gives you a positive 6. And find the integers, two consecutive integers. Okay, so this one, what would be the next integer after this? Negative 4. And what would be the next integer after this? 7. Okay. So is that what the correct answer is? Number 48 would be D, 6 and 7, or negative 5 and negative 4. Somebody check that? It's D. 2 more problems. Number 49, a rectangular garden is 3 times as long as it is wide. So let's kind of draw a rectangle. Okay. Here's the wide. It's 3 times as long as it is wide, so the length is 3 times the width, right? Okay, if the area of the garden is 28 square feet. So your answer is going to be in feet. Find the length and the width of the garden. What is area of a rectangle? Length times width. Okay, area is 28. The length is 3W. Times W. So you've got 28 equals 3W squared. To equal 0, subtract this. 28. 3w squared minus 2028. So we need to divide by A3, right? To factor. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 3 will go into that. W squared minus what? $676. What's the square root of 676? 26. This is a difference of squares. So you have plus 26 minus 26. So 3 equals 0 doesn't give you an answer, does it? This will give you a negative 26, this will give you a positive 26. Is the length, or is the width of your rectangle going to be a negative number? Of course not. Yeah, so the width is 26 what? Feet. And the length is 3 times that. 26 times 3, 78. Okay, so the length is 78 feet. If you multiply those, make sure you get your 2028 back. Because the length times the width gives you your 2028, your area. One more, number 50. The height of a triangle is 5 centimeters more than the length of the base. So draw your triangle. The height is 5 more centimeters than the length of the base. So it's 5 more than the base, right? And we know we're in centimeters because we saw that in centimeters right there. Okay. The area of the triangle is 52 centimeters squared. Find the height and the length of the base.